Yeah,
So I think we're going.
I think so. I
Happy
don't know.
release date, Dan.
Mazel tov to you too, Jim.
I know. It's been just trying to make sure this is all working. Seems to be.
Okay. Hello to anyone who's out there. We don't actually know what we're doing with this yet.
If you guys have any issues with hearing us or whatever, just let us know in the comments because we're trying a new platform, so it's a bit of an experiment. Um, so yeah, release day. Gone, had a nice afternoon. Not working and just kind of enjoying the day. Dan, what have you been up to?
Yeah, just feeling good. It's a funny life as a musician because you work your ass off on something and that you care so deeply about for so long, and then when it's finally out, uh, and the world sees it for the first time, you've already like emotionally you're like working on the next thing, So you're like, oh yeah, I remember that album, Like it's a funny kind of thing.
Right.
Um,
It's almost a year old in our minds, right?
yeah,
In
yeah,
some
but
senses.
I'm super proud of this album. It was an album that I always wanted to make. I always wanted to be part of a prog rock band, and I love this. It was an itch that, as much as I love Ninja Sex Party, and I'll be in that band until I die. Uh, there's a certain itch that I couldn't scratch, and this band did it.
Yeah, I know. You and I have had this conversation a bunch, but having written and produced music for other people for so long, that to be able to do this, it's always been in the back of my head. I don't know if people listen to that kind of stuff anymore. And then at some point, just going, I don't really care. Let's do it. And
Yeah,
then, like, we've kind of talked about this before, but when we first started talking about doing music together, it was under the auspice of, like, let's do music for film and television and kind of see how it goes. And we'll write some cool songs for sync and stuff. And then we both were immediately like, this is garbage. And
yeah, yeah.
let's just do something that we want to do and that, maybe we'll connect with people and stuff. So anyway, I'm glad it seems to be connecting. Um, So, hey, one quick thing I want to get out of the way. There's been a lot of people asking about the tape giveaway, which was very, very popular, more popular than I think neither of us expected it to be. We're going to be announcing that on Monday. So, get ready for that on Monday. We'll announce the 5 winners and let you know via email who won, and then also let the world know as well. But yeah, it'll be fun. Who would
Yeah.
have thought tapes would be so popular, Dan?
Unbelievable, unbelievable. It's really funny that cassettes are in vogue now as an exciting piece of merchandise.
I know.
When you literally, if you handed someone a tape for like the last 20 years, it was as if you were asking them to throw it away for you.
Here, you throw
Uh,
this away.
yeah, but two things real quick. I'm seeing in the comments. One, yes, I am a Nets fan, and yes, I got it, Celtics fans. You're better. Like it's okay. I know they're going to lose, but I'm from New Jersey, so I love the Nets, even though they moved to Brooklyn. But I moved to Brooklyn too, so that's fine. Um, and the other thing is, it's funny. There's like a couple of comments saying that my camera is shitty as always. This is actually the better version because I took a Q-tip and cleaned the hell out of that camera lens. So you are seeing the new and improved terrible camera.
Dan,
uh,
I just saw a hi from Wales, and
oh, awesome.
that's awesome. We were just in Wales, having a whale of a time. Who said that? I can't find it now. We got thrown way up. But whoever's there it is. Kedri F. Whoever that. So, cheers. Beautiful country.
Yeah, yeah, we loved Wales. That was amazing. We were recording the next Dan Avidan and Super Guitar Bros album. It was pretty dreamy to be there. Amazing place, amazing studio, Rockfield Studios, and yeah, that was the funny thing is this Shadow Academy album was written and recorded uh, very piecemeal because it was happening during the pandemic. So it one thing we couldn't do was go to a cool studio and and really get like the vibe of that. You know what I mean? So maybe for the next album, that'll be something that we like uh, try to make happen.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. It was cozy to make it at my place, even though we were separated. But it would be nice to do it somewhere like a rock field or go down to the ranch. We did this record partially down at Sonic Ranch, which is a large. I think now it's up to 6,000 acres of land, right on the border of Mexico. And it's like I always tell people going there, it's like rock and roll camp. Um, there's like no rules, just a lot of like recording and bands and like land and really anything goes. It's a lot of fun. So we did some of the basic tracking down there with Jack and Nate for this record, and then Dan and I recorded vocals at my studio back in LA. But yeah, to be able to all be together at a place and do it would be way better for obvious
Yeah,
reasons. So,
absolutely. I'm just taking a quick look at the comments. They zoom by kind of fast, but um, I saw Shucharu in there. So hello, buddy.
nice.
Love that guy. Uh, hello to the people all over the world. I saw Czech Republic, Belgium, Sweden.
Yep.
Uh, ama- Amazing that what we're doing in our houses is reaching that far into the world. That's an awesome feeling. Um, and uh, I saw a couple asking for the story behind Invisible. Um, uh, all of the lyrics for this album were, I did a ton of reading during the pandemic. So all of the songs are they started about a book and then they're connected to some part of my life or the human experience of living right now. Um, so all the songs are kind of like the middle ground between those two ideas. And so Invisible was Invisible Man, the Invisible Man by oh my god, I'm blanking on the guy's name who wrote it. Um, it's a classic. The one where the guy turns invisible, and it's also just about like the feeling of being chased, you know, and wanting to disappear because um, things can get scary out there, you know, and in a culture where not just in my life, but like there's a lot of cameras everywhere. There's a lot of we're constantly under surveillance, whether we know it or not. And the feeling of just wanting to like go to a tropical island and not be seen by anyone for a while is that was the inspiration behind that song.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
a couple good comments or questions, I should say. Hello from Myrtle Beach. Love Myrtle
Oh,
Beach. Um,
H.G. Wells, thank you very much. That's who
ah,
wrote Invisible Man.
there's been some comments about the behind the scenes footage and making of. We're really bad at filming while we're working. If you couldn't tell, there's been a lot of regurgitated footage. But I feel like next time we'll do better. But I am thinking about doing some stuff that involves the recording sessions and stuff. So I might be able to give you guys a peek into some of the recording sessions and things like that. So there might be some more of that kind of content coming up where we can dive into the recordings and see how they were made, see how the sausage was made as it
Yeah,
goes.
that's the thing. Like, even though I know it runs counter to the way that social media works and kind of the world works right now, when we're in the studio and we're working on music, it's very distracting to have cameras in there because you're you're essentially painting with sound. You know, you're trying very hard to make something sound as good as possible. And like, who cares what you look like in those moments? You know, it's not about looking good. Um, and we're not a pop band where like it's about our faces or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um,
And when the cameras
so
come out, when the cameras come out in the studio, the vibe changes immediately
yeah, yeah,
in an
because
awesome way.
everyone kind of like stiffens up and it's like, oh, I don't want to look stupid on camera.
Yeah.
So we just left them out and focused on the music and So we don't have a ton of great social media stuff, but we have an album that we're very proud of. So that's
Yeah.
what matters a lot more.
And honestly, at the time we were making it, I think probably half of the time was probably like we didn't even know what it was going to be. There was also that. We're like, I don't know, we're just kind of making some songs. And to be quite honest, we were in the room together, what, maybe 7 times over the course of making of that rose. And like we were like hanging out constantly anyway because of the Rona.
Duh,
So
that's sweet Rona.
sweet, sweet
Um,
Rona. I know. Uh,
Thank you to Kaylee Uwu for ordering the bundle. That's very kind. If anyone feels like supporting what we do in a monetary sense, what is it? Store.shadowacademy.com? Is that it?
uh, store.shadowacademymusic.com is the
Shadow
store.
Academy Music, yeah, .com. That's the best way to support us because it's no secret Spotify is not very helpful to artists.
Yeah.
Although it's wonderful in the sense of getting your music out there and helping it be heard, but
Yeah.
you certainly won't be able to break even
Right.
just on
That's for
Spotify
sure.
stuff. So and that's really all we wanted from this
Yeah.
album monetarily. We just wanted to like create something that we could be proud of and we'd love musically, and not go broke doing it, which does happen to a lot of bands.
Yeah. It's hard to make money nowadays in the music industry, and it is not an inexpensive process. I mean, it's becoming less expensive because of the access to software and things like that. And you can make things on laptops, but you got to if you're going to do it well, you got to have it mixed well, you got to have it mastered well, you got to hire people to help you. It adds up. So um, I saw
Oh, Jim, you're breaking up a little
better.
bit.
Oh, sorry. How about now? Am I
Yeah,
better?
you're good now. It just like clips out for like 5 seconds at a time.
Okay.
Go for it.
Um, Questions about the demos that are on the tape, the 5 tapes that were made. There are 2 demos that are on the tape, and they are. I actually looked at the original names. Dan, White Whale was originally called Blade Chugger,
Blade Chugger. Oh
which is
yeah,
like
because you would just name the instrumental track something
just
weird.
naming like the guitar part, and like it was called Blade Chugger, and then Once and Nevermore was called Emo Elmo, which I thought was very funny.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
So anyway,
Uh,
you'll get Blade Chugger and Emo Elmo, but they're as of now, this is the only place they're going to exist are on those 5 tapes. Maybe sometime down the line, who knows? Maybe we'll let them see more of the light of day. But I thought it would be a cool thing for those five tapes to have something that's like pretty rare. And they actually sound all right. I mean, they have fake drums and stuff because we're just putting it together fast. But like
sure.
a lot of the core ideas, in fact, the guitar part that is the final guitar riff for White Whale is the first day that I played it. That stayed the whole time because I couldn't beat it. Like I couldn't beat it tone wise. I couldn't beat it vibe wise, and so I'm like, let's just keep it. And so the intro to
Absolutely.
White Whale is literally probably the first time I ever played it, and that ended up being the whole song.
That's
So
funny.
it's kind of cool.
I saw a question. Um, Dan, my wife and I are convinced you're smoking weed again. Can you confirm? I can actually confirm that I am not smoking weed again. I will probably never smoke again. I don't know. Go figure. Now that it's freaking legal everywhere, uh, I don't know what it was. Like chemically, I hit an age where like it does not hit me right anymore, and like the second I take a puff, I get super paranoid and like anxious, and I'm like, this is not what you're supposed to be smoking weed for. This is like the opposite of what you want. So I think those days are long gone at this point. But thank you for your interest.
That's funny. There's some
I
really
know.
good questions coming in from you guys. The art, asking about what the art symbolizes, and that's a great question that I can't answer directly. However, we can tell you that we met Mike, uh, and she kind of saved us because we were having a hard time figuring out what the visuals were going to look like for this band, but we knew we would know when we saw it. And Dan, you had found her art online and sent it to me.
Mike, uh, my wife, because she's an artist, has a lot of art art accounts like on her social media. So I was just looking through those, and I saw Mike's stuff, and it jumped out, and it was so beautiful, and so we reached out to her, and as it turns out, she was familiar with NSP and was a fan, and that was awesome. Such a nice person to work with, so stupidly talented, and just the way her visual mind works connected with the music so well. We both had that reaction right away.
Yeah, I don't know the name of the artist from the early '90s, but they did a lot of the early Jane's Addiction stuff, and that real kind of like religion, Catholic religion meets punk
Yeah,
rock
I remember that.
meets. Yeah, and I just ever since I was younger, I just was like, God, that is so cool, and I feel like it was like beautiful but violent all at the same time, and I that kind of always struck me as a really interesting match. And then the music that we did together kind of also fit that vein. I think there's moments of beauty, but there's moments of destruction. And as soon as I saw the stuff you sent me of hers, I was like, that's it. Like she's the one. And then we connected, and she couldn't be more lovely. And now she did the white whale art, and I mean, she's done all the art so far, and she is wildly talented, and she will likely just be doing all the things from now on because it seems to connect really well to the music. Um,
For,
so,
for sure. I just wanted to answer one question because I just saw a good one that I get a lot from young musicians. It was everything. I'm paraphrasing, but the person wrote something like, uh, "Everything I do, everything, all the music I write feels like a ripoff, or that it's not good enough, or uh, something like that." So, how do you write music? Um, Great question. There's certainly no substitute for just doing it um, over a long period of time. The same thing with comedy, actually. I met, I don't know if you're familiar with Will Forte. He's a really funny comedian, MacGruber. Um, I met him one time when I was just starting out in comedy and asked him if uh, I was just telling him about NSP because we had just started, and he was really cool. He was like, "You'll get there, just keep working at it, and gradually you'll like hone in on your comedic voice." And that's very much the same thing with music. When you start, it's going to sound a lot like your influences. It's just going to sound like an amalgam of the stuff you listen to, and that's where it can feel like that, like rip off kind of thing in your head. But the more you create and the more you get that out of your system, eventually, like your own creativity starts to emerge through those influences.
yep,
Um, is that
100%.
is that fair to say?
Absolutely. In fact, when I'm working with artists, I think we've tried it a few times when we do NSP records. One of my favorite exercises that I was in a band a long time ago on Linkin Park's label and was close with those guys, and they recommended this as a writing exercise that they did a lot. And they said, pick a song you like that you want to have a song like, and just rip it off as an exercise. Literally take the riff, tweak it a little bit, maybe don't, and then just start writing and remake the song. And 9 times out of 10, it will totally become something different. But it's just a good exercise in doing things that will spark other ideas and things. So having said that, and what I've noticed is when you do that, it makes artists realize like, okay, I just remade that song that I liked, but I subconsciously realized I didn't like that part about it, didn't like that part about it, didn't like that part about it. So it ended up finding its own lane, and ultimately the songs ends up totally different anyway. So I think it's always a great exercise to imitate until you find your voice. And even then, once you find it, occasionally do it. It's a good exercise. A really good
Yeah,
exercise.
for sure, for sure.
So,
But there's no substitute for just doing it
right.
because the longer you wait and the longer you put it off, and the more time you spend thinking about something instead of just doing it, the more it builds up in your head, and then your brain does that thing where you're like, the next thing I do has to be perfect, and that's a rough way to go. It's much
Paralyzing.
better to just keep creating, and then eventually you're like, ooh, this is starting to get into a realm that I'm proud of and I like.
Yep, that's exactly right. One thing I wanted to say, and I've seen a few people comment about it. Kaleidoscope is a song that you guys have been commenting so much today that you guys love, which is when Dan and I spoke on the phone earlier today, I was like, Kaleidoscope. Who would have thought? Like, that was just kind of like an add on, I think, and we wrote it. We really loved it and liked it, but never struck us as a song that would kind of be as popular or liked as much as it has been, at least for today. Isn't that wild? Isn't that weird?
Whenever you make an album of 11 songs, um, I obviously we try very, very hard. Like if a song is not strong enough, we just cut it. Like it doesn't make the album. So like everything that's on there, like we really, really love. But you'll always have your favorites, and they can't all be your favorites. And I think Kaleidoscope is one of those where we both really loved elements of it. Um, I don't think it jumped out at us as like the one of the top one or two songs on the album, but it seems to be one people are really connecting with, and that's all that matters. Like
Yeah,
in a lot of ways, other people's opinions at this point matter more than ours, because
yeah,
when you're making an album, you make it for yourself. You make yourself proud, like your inner kid, like your inner uh, like the kid version of you, what that person would want to listen to. Um, you make that for
right.
yourself, but then once the album's out there, like it's yours. It's not ours anymore.
Yeah,
And so if Kaleidoscope ends up being the track, then awesome. You know.
yeah. No, I do remember. I was. This is actually a good reference. There's a band that Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins had a while back called Zwan, Zwan, and it was him and Jimmy Chamberlain from Smashing Pumpkins. It was a side project, and it became one of my favorite bands ever. And they only made one record, but I had been listening to a lot of Zwan that week, and that if you know Zwan, you'll hear it in the Kaleidoscope vibe. It's a very Zwan esque song, in its grandiosity, and then Dan, the melodies that you put on there were, we liked the music, and then when you put the melodies on, it was like, dang, that's tasty, and it fit right into the zone of what I was wanting it to be anyway. So if you haven't heard Zwan, definitely check it out. And
Mhm.
in fact, it's not even on. Can't even find it on Spotify and stuff. I don't know why. Probably some legal thing. But anyway. Um, but yeah, I remember when you sent it to me, I was like, "This is a special song." And then you keep working on the record, and songs become more special. And that one kind of just kept falling back to me. But I love it. I love that people are so excited about it.
It's awesome. There's been some questions of like, if not on Spotify, where do I listen to the album? And it, let me put it this way: we're just stoked if you listen to it anywhere. Listen to it wherever is easiest for you. Um, we personally don't care. Uh, Maybe for bands just starting out, maybe Bandcamp is better for them, like per stream. Um, but I don't know. I don't know of any streaming service that, um, uh, and this might be my own ignorance, but I don't know of any streaming service that really puts the artist before the streaming service itself. You know what I mean? So just listen to it anywhere. Go enjoy it. If you do want to support us, merch is the best way. Um, but mostly, we're just thrilled that anyone's listening.
Yeah. I just saw a comment. I'm getting strong Pink Floyd vibes from Wind and Waves interlude. Yes, accurate. We're both big Pink Floyd fans, and kind of
Massive.
a huge lack of that vibe in the world right now. And that's actually a fun story. So we wrote Wind and Waves with Jack and Nate Vanderpool from the band Viper Club, who are also played on the record with us. And will likely tour with us if we get to that point. But and two of the most incredible musicians I know by a landslide. And we wrote that bridge at my studio. Well, we wrote the music for that song at my studio in LA. And we were just having so much fun going down this like endless rabbit hole of ideas and like, why don't we slow it down? And let's have it be a complete departure in Wind and Waves and have it be its own world. And and then I'm like, this is probably not going to work at all, but let's do it anyway. And we were just like, oh man, this feels so much like Dark Side of the Moon. How cool is that? And then it all ended up making sense somehow. And and then obviously then the vocal came on and put it up another 20 notches and stuff. So, but yeah, Pink Floyd is something we just kind of will always kind of be a keystone for us.
It's massive. And their 3 album stretch from Dark Side of the Moon to Wish You Were Here to Animals is one of my favorite 3 album stretches of any band ever.
Yeah,
Um, it's just like every song on all of those albums is so powerful. Um, and there was plenty of great stuff before and after in their catalog, but that's the sweet spot for me.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, they're wonderful, and there's yeah, Dream Theater too. That's Dream Theater's tasty. There's a lot of good stuff. So there's I'm seeing a lot of questions, like what do the lyrics mean for this? What do the lyrics mean for that one? Um, I'll answer the Fall Like a Meteor one, which I just saw. But I think after that, I'd kind of like to let people sort of make their own connections a little bit more. I think it's a little bit deeper when people can do that, because I don't want to limit anyone's idea of what a song is about. But Fall Like a Meteor started with a book called The Picture of Dorian Gray, which is about someone, a young, handsome guy who is one of the world's biggest pieces of shit, and someone makes this painting of him, and the painting starts aging instead of him, so he can become young and beautiful forever. But the painting gets worse and worse as he goes out and does terrible shit in the world, and the painting like represents his corrupted soul. And the stuff that Oscar Wilde talks about in that book is so relevant to things like Instagram and the shallowness of social media culture, that it was pretty easy to write that song. Um, so that's where that one started. But anything else is like, you know is up to you for interpretation.
That was also a song we wrote with Jack and Nate
Yes,
Vanderpool
yes.
from
They
Act.
Nate's drumming on that is insane.
His drumming on everything's insane, and Jack's guitar playing on everything he played on is insane, and they're totally insane. If you haven't already heard of their band called Viper Club, um, Run Don't Walk. I met them because I produced one of their albums or a few of the singles, and they were like 18 and 21 at the time, and I was like watching Nate play the drums and Jack play the guitar. I was like, how? What have you been doing? Have you just would you come out of the womb playing like? They're insane, insane musicians, and even more lovely humans. And so I put them in the back of my brain like they'll come in very useful in the best way at some point. And they were the first phone call. Yeah, his drumming, I mean, is phenomenal. I mean, well beyond his years. And Jack's guitar playing is in the pantheon of. I mean, you don't play guitar like that normally. That's some serious. I met their parents one night at a show, and I just was like, in case you don't know, your sons are freakishly talented. You
Yeah.
need to know, in case you don't. So
Did they know?
they knew. Yeah,
Okay,
they're
good.
lovely people, and they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. They've been doing this since they could walk, and this is all they know. And I'm like, yeah, well, it shows. They're amazing. So I don't know
It's
if they're
in
on
them,
here.
man. You can see when you meet them, they have like music flowing through them. Like there are certain people like that where you can see, you can tell that they see and hear music in everything that they do.
Yeah,
Um, and and you're like that as well. Like it's just I don't know. Being a musician is such a tough way to make a living. Um, I don't know how you could do it unless you know in your heart that you wouldn't be happy doing anything else.
yeah.
You know?
You throw your hat over the wall.
Yeah, yeah. It was cool to link up with other musicians, and honestly, it's aside from Game Grumps and the opportunities it afforded NSP, the best thing about moving to LA was meeting you and
Aww.
yeah, well, it's true, and
No,
like all the ways that like these branches of music grew out of being here. And LA, like I've been here almost 10 years. I gotta say, it's not my favorite city that I've ever lived in, you know? Like,
mine neither.
yeah, there are really cool things about it, but there are some really not cool things about it. And uh, I think the best thing about it was the opportunities that it afforded and the types of artistic people it draws to it.
100%.
Um,
And then you can kind
so
of later pick up your bag and go somewhere else once you've,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I, if only I could. But yeah,
um,
in the meantime, it's been awesome, and I'm glad that we met Nate and Jack too.
oh, me too. Me too. I saw I saw a funny comment. It said, Dan, if you're or if Brian's the ninja, you're the sex. Is Jim the party?
Sure,
Very funny.
I always
Very
thought I was more. I always thought I was more the party, but like,
funny.
yeah, you could be
Yeah.
the sex if you want.
Let me be the sex.
Yeah, you have
Yeah,
kids,
yeah.
so you
I'll
must have
take
done it.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah. At least twice.
way to go.
Yeah.
Um,
Another thing I keep seeing, Dan, is people's reaction to Once and Nevermore. And I think that
yeah, yeah.
that song, I think I'm so happy it connected with everybody because it connected with us. And
Oh, I think you
I think
froze
that
for a
will
second.
probably forever be my back.
Yeah, you're back. Start that one over.
Okay. I just said a lot of comments on Once and Nevermore, and I'm just so glad that that song connected with people in the way that it did. And it seems like being a very guttural, real way. Which, if there's anything that I wanted to get out of this record with you, Dan, is to connect with people that way. Because I very much feel like the state of the music industry overall doesn't have a lot of that. You know, they're aiming for targets, which is cool too. You know, everybody's got to make a buck, but I just love that. Um, that song hits people in a way that we've gotten messages after message and like comments that are like so moving. The stories that people have sent us that of things that were going on in their lives, and it's that's really powerful stuff. And we knew right at writing it that we had a big fish on the hook with that song. And I remember getting your vocal for that and just being like, oh man, like we got a tiger by the tail right here. This is gonna be a big song. And
Yeah, that's my favorite one off the album.
yeah, mine too.
There's a couple. Wind and Waves I really love. But Once and Evermore, that was probably the one where like we knew right from the beginning, like okay, this has whatever that the same thing. Danny, Don't You Know, and Starlight Brigade, like those songs that have really connected in our careers. Um, that one had it too, and who knows where it comes from? You know,
Yeah,
it
you
just
just kind of
happens
grab
to
it.
us.
Danny, on that note, I actually like last week I was looking for voice memos on my phone of some Shadow Academy stuff, and I found the Danny Don't You Know writing session voice memo of us
Wow,
going mumbling through the melodies, and you going, and I'm like acoustic guitar, and you're like, well, what about this? And I'm like, oh man, this is cool to listen to now. You know, I'll send it to you.
it's weird. Once a song is done and you get used to hearing it finished, it's hard to believe that it ever could have taken a turn that didn't end up being exactly what it was. You know,
Right, right.
like if just the motivation struck you to put in a different note, that different note would take you down a different path, and suddenly the chorus is different, and then the song's different. It's very weird, and kind of makes you wonder if like I always say this, and not to be a big hippie about it, but like you almost wonder if these songs really are out there, and you just kind of grab them from somewhere,
Yep.
rather than like creating them out of nothing in your brain.
Right, right. It is. It's like it existed and you pull them down, and then when you get done and they come out, you're like, I don't really know how that happened. There's no way I was involved in that.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't do
No way I
anything.
had
It
any
just
hand in that. I'm an idiot. There's no way that that song turned out so special. You
right.
know?
I just heard it and then I wrote it down. It's very weird that way.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a bunch of questions about uh, my voice and how what I do for training. Uh, I at this point, I think my voice is finally getting to the point that I always wanted it to be at. Maybe it got there like 2 years ago, but for the first, I mean, I started pursuing music when I was 19 for a living. So for the first 21 years of my career, my voice was not at a place that I wanted it to be. Um, but sadly, my voice teacher died a couple of months ago, but he
Right.
was amazing and he taught me so much. His name was Ron Anderson, and uh, I I feel like I'm kind of on like a treadmill a little bit because um, he I recorded all my sessions with him, and so I listen to them every day, and I warm up with them, and it strengthens my voice because your vocal cords are muscles like any other part of your body. So if you exercise them, they become stronger and all that, especially if you use the right technique. Um, so about an hour or two every day of vocal warm ups, and then it's physical training. Like you want to make sure your body's healthy and your posture's good, um, because you want the sound to flow from the diaphragm out effortlessly, um, as opposed to like squeezing your vocal cords to produce more volume. So you know that's really all there is to it. It's you just keep learning from people. I used to have a comedy teacher, an improv comedy teacher. He also died, unfortunately. But these guys were old, and that's why they were so good at what they did.
Stay
Um,
away from Dan Abaddon.
I know, right? No, his name was Gary Austin, and he was in his 70s, I think, when I took lessons with him. Um, but he used to say, with any subject, there's as far as teachers go, there's only about 50 people in the world who actually know what they're talking about. And everybody else is giving some watered down version of what those 50 people know.
Yeah.
So if you're really serious about something and you want to find a mentor, try to look around and see what people say, and try to find one of those 50 people because it will be the key to unlocking a lot of potential within yourself.
Yeah. And it's not lost on me certainly, but I don't think you can really put a finer point on the amount of time you take to practice and to warm up and to do the things that a lot of people don't want to do and put the time into, you know?
It's
So,
boring. It is boring, but like um, everything worth doing is hard, and everything worth doing is scary at first,
right.
and everything worth doing has its boring stretches, um, especially if you're talking about like long-term projects in your life. So
Yeah.
that's where the love for what you're doing has to come in because if you don't love doing it, you're not going to want to suffer through the nonsensical parts of it.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Um, oh, Austin, um, sorry to hear about your grandmother, but I love that she loves the band. Um, she says her grandmother's suffering with dementia, but she fucking loves Shadow Academy. So
That's
that's pretty
awesome. I mean, the awesome part of that statement is awesome. Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Thanks, Austin.
Yeah.
Give your grandma a hug for us. Um, yeah,
Absolutely.
we're real lucky, man. We're lucky to have gotten to do this for so long. And someone had asked what our goals for Shadow Academy are. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of it's kind of this, to make an album that we're really proud of. Uh, we don't personally need any more attention in our lives. We do not care about um, the image side of things. I think we just wanted to make music that we're proud of and connected with people, and to make enough money at it that we could keep doing it without, you
Yeah.
know, like putting our family's futures in jeopardy and stuff like that, you know?
Right.
Like that's really all you want at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think I speak for both of us, Dan, when I say that the goal for me, I mean, the album came out today. The goal's been achieved 20 times over. Like, just seeing the connection with you guys to the songs in a way that's like, I'm in. Everyone's like, I'm in. Like, I'm a fan. And just like, I'm listening and I love it and I'm connected to it. Like, that's all I could hope for. Because you do, I've worked with so many artists over the years and they put all this strength and energy into this one pop song or this one whatever song. And I know, I mean, it's good, but is it going to connect with anybody? Like, probably not. But for us to be able to kind of go and just work on some music we love and then see it connect like in a way that it has is like, if that's it, then that's great. That's all I needed. I wanted to provide something to the world that doesn't really exist for me right now in terms of music with substance and with intention um, and with craft. I mean, in terms of like playing real instruments and finding great players and being able to, you showcasing your voice. It's like not a lot of things are made with the amount of craft these days. And so I just love the idea that we took the time and the resources and made something that checked those boxes, and that was actually like then also reciprocated back. Like, oh my gosh, this is hitting me in a place I haven't been hit with. That's so great to hear, and it's just like we go, okay, if we never did another one, I'll be thrilled. But I've got a lot more ideas. I think we'll be doing more. So that's been really gratifying.
Yeah, no question. And that's really a big part of it, juggling all these projects, because there's life is so short and it goes by so fast, and there's so much we want to do. Um, the, I'm seeing a lot of uh, questions about live shows. Um, I would love to. It's tough though because I'm going on tour with Grumps in June, and there's going to be an NSP tour that's announced very shortly. Um, and once every time, because I'm on this treadmill of Game Grumps, um, every time I go away to tour, like let's say I take the month of June to go touring. That means all those Game Grumps have to like flow into May and July. So suddenly I'm working like double shifts for 3 months, and the calendar ends up filling up very quickly like that. And yes, absolutely, I would love to tour Shadow Academy. There's we're as far as we know right now, the intention is to do another Shadow Academy album. I'm also working on the Dan Avidan Super Guitar Bros second album, and I'm working on Sky Hill stuff with Pete, which Jim might help with like the production side of a little bit. So between all of those projects, there's just like not enough hours in a lifetime to do everything you want to do, and go everywhere you want to go with all the projects. Um, what would be amazing, actually, and maybe we could do this someday, would be to do a giant like festival type of show with all of our projects in one thing, like NSP, a Starbomb performance, a Shadow Academy performance. Like a twerp could play it, super like all our friends that we've met along the way. That would be really really cool.
That would be
Um,
cool. That would be
but
really cool. Maybe a boxing match thrown in
yeah,
there.
that's not my thing, baby.
I'm just kidding.
That's Aaron's style. But
Oh
yeah,
my.
it's there's I wish I could say yes, absolutely. Shadow Academy will tour and it will be soon. But I don't know. I don't know if we can.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
We just play it by
it's
ear.
tough.
I mean, everything else fell into place very nicely on its own, right? So
Mhm.
just see how it goes.
Totally.
But
Uh, this is very nice. I see someone named Wangus wrote, "We have fish and whatnot," and I can only assume that referred to some other comment that I missed earlier.
Yeah, I know. I missed that one too. Um, Danapalooza. That's funny.
That's very
Uh,
cute.
yeah, very cute. Um, but yeah, I mean, beyond today being really fun for Dan and I, um, we're just very thrilled that you guys have connected to the record in the way that you have, and we've got some more kind of fun stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks that we can't quite talk about yet. But I think a
Yeah.
lot of you will be thrilled, and and yeah, that's all we'll say about that. But
Yeah, it's been awesome. And oh, a little love for Go Banana Go. Your band with
oh
Brian. Jim. There
yeah,
you go.
yeah, we have a new album coming out in a couple weeks. 17 ridiculous songs, very different from Shadow Academy.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's funny. Like it shows you all the different sides there are to a person, and the ways that they can express themselves.
Yeah,
Because Shadow Academy is every bit as much a part of me as NSP is. But like, some days you feel goofy and some days you feel serious.
yep,
Uh, and it's very cool that like we have these open-minded fans that are willing to support us in our different like moods and states and all that.
totally.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it really, really is. I've seen a couple comments about the digital record. Yeah, the album's available everywhere. I mean, I think you can still buy digital if that's what you're asking. But yeah, it's available Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you normally listen to music. The album is everywhere and very easy to find. So
So someone wrote more like Stinko Academy and then ha 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 in all capital letters. I was good
nailed
one.
it. Stinko, and
Oh man. Yeah. So
that's hard to beat.
someone just wrote, just ordered the signed CD. Thank you. That's really nice of you. That's the best way to help us out and let us keep going. Um,
Some days you feel Wondering Tonight, and some days you feel Once and Nevermore. And it's
ain't
weird
that-
that those two songs came out of the same bodies, plus Brydog.
yeah, yeah, no question. And
That's
and and Brian, Go Banana Go is part of Brian just as NSP
oh
is,
yeah,
because like he's a very funny guy with like this really biting, sarcastic sense of humor, and he's also a great dad.
yeah,
So it's it's just cool that like there's a lot of different things that make up a human being.
yeah. We always joke that if we released the joke versions of the Go Banana Go songs that we've written with alternate lyrics, we'd have a lot of scarred children. Because in the studio, we've all been there, and the conversation can turn not appropriate very quickly. And we will put those to kid songs, and we have a good laugh. Like, oh man, if they only knew, if they only knew.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Someone asked, uh, how do I protect my voice after long sessions? Rest, rest your voice. I have a vocal doctor named Dr. Nasseri. He's wonderful, and he is always telling me like, do not be afraid to shut up for a little while. Like
Yep.
certainly tea and everything like that. That's all important. Uncaffeinated tea. There's lists out there of things that are good to eat for your voice and bad. You want to avoid things that dry you out like caffeine and stuff like that. But yeah, uh, definitely give yourself breaks because the harder you push, especially if you sing when like you're sick or you're already like feeling it, um, that's bad news. That can you can really hurt yourself that way and develop nodules and all kinds of terrible things. So take it easy on yourself. If you're feeling very raspy and you feel like your voice burns out after a short period of time, that might be a matter of technique, and that's what you would want to see a vocal teacher to fix, because it's very important you have good technique, because then you'll be able to unlock your voice's true potential and not hurt yourself in the process.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
my gosh. Uh,
what's up?
Clover, happy birthday. Somebody's got a birthday today and she asked for a shout out. So there it is. Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday, Mazel Tov.
Mazel tov. 20, 29, 40, 55. What do we, I don't know.
Yep.
You
Yep.
can put it there. It's a number. Number.
Someone
Um,
asked, when can I not talk with Game Grumps recordings? Well, that is a very good question, and that's why we schedule Game Grumps recordings uh, very specifically apart from uh, song recordings, and like I give myself a day off in between, and um, there is some you'll notice with the NSP tour, like there's a day off after almost every show, and that's purely for my voice. Um, there's some bands and singers that can do it every night, no problem. Uh, I'm not one of them, and I'm cool with that. So I'd rather protect myself, and even if it's at the expense of a little extra cash, because being on the road is expensive. You know, you got to pay the bus driver and the hotels and stuff like that. But so be it.
so be it. I've seen a couple things. People are asking about shirt availability. You guys are insane, and they've gone through another batch. So we are aware, and they are restocking, and I think by now they should be available to be ordered again. So if you guys are finding a hard time getting shirts, it'll be solved either now or tonight if it hasn't been already. And also, we added double X to 4X. We had a bunch of asks for that, so we've got bigger sizes available now too. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's that's really cool that people are interested.
yeah,
I saw someone asking about beanies, and I think there are beanies, right? We
there
made
are.
beanies. Yeah, yeah. I
In
wear
fact,
too many beanies not to make them. You know.
yeah, this was the this is the only one made. This you do a release of these. These seem cool, but anyway, if not, we'll keep the ones we have. But this was the OG version that we did end up not releasing, but I wear
Cool.
it because I like it. So, um, what are your current favorite songs, bands, or artists? That's a good one. What are you listening to, Dan?
Um, well, a lot of times I. It's funny because my current artists will be, a progressive rock album from 1972.
Right.
Um, this year, my favorite album so far is Impera by Ghost.
Mm,
The new Ghost record came out, and I think they are an unbelievably cool band. Um, Very melodic metal. It's almost like if the Phantom of the Opera started a band.
totally.
Um, yeah, I love I've loved I've loved all their stuff, but these last two albums in particular have been really like something else.
They're so good. The engineer that we worked with in Wales, I believe he worked on those records. Joe,
Joe worked on the Ghost records?
I believe so because he works with the producer all the time. And I
Get
forget.
out of here.
Anyway, yeah,
Oh,
Joe did
yeah.
The Royal Blood record too.
Yep, Royal Blood is great.
Yeah, Royal Blood is something I've been listening to a lot of. They're actually playing this tiny venue in Nashville called Brooklyn Bowl, and I saw them on the bill on the calendar. I'm like, oh my god, I gotta get tickets for that because tickets are like $60 or $50, and then they sold out in like 3 seconds because it only holds 900 people,
Hmm.
and now they're like $500.
Yeah.
So I might be splurging because that would be really great. But another cool band I recently heard and was like, how have I not known about this? Was the band Wolf Alice. Have you heard them?
Wolf Alice?
Yeah, they sound
No,
not
no.
unlike what we're doing. And it came on the radio, and I was like, this is cool. It's a girl singer. I forget her name. She's got an amazing voice, and they're just heavy, like, but really melodic too. And so I kind of went down that rabbit hole and got into them. They're a British band.
Oh, very cool.
Very cool
Um,
stuff. Yeah.
there's so much good stuff out there. It's really hard to keep track of. Um, oh, someone asked me if I like Ghost, if I like Blue Oyster Cult. Fuck yeah, I like Blue Oyster Cult. What a crazy question that is. Yeah, they're wonderful. They're it in a way. Do you ever feel guilty, Jim? Because like just it feels like by falling ass backwards into a gaming channel, I got to live all these musical dreams. There's there are so many amazing bands out there that do not get the recognition they deserve, and that kills me. Like when I listen to something and I'm like, "Holy shit, this is unreal," and then you
Mhm.
look on Spotify and it's like 100 monthly listeners, and I'm like,
Yeah,
"How dare the universe allow this to happen?"
I know. It'll
Um,
happen at some point for them. I'm a big believer. Great stuff spreads, you just got to keep at it. But I agree. It's crazy. But
it's tough. Um, it's a tough genre of art. I don't know if you can call music a genre. Like you know what I mean. It's a tough
medium.
medium. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because with comedy, either you make people laugh or you don't with comedy. So in a lot of ways, the best comedians will almost always rise to the top. Music is not the same way.
Yeah.
Uh, for whatever reason, maybe it's because there's more of a stranglehold uh, on the top by like label people and whatever. But yeah, it's a little bit more of a roll of the dice, and that makes it tough for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said earlier, you're kind of a lot of I've had a lot of like questions over the years, or people like, "We talk to this person, they want to get into music," and it's like, yeah, absolutely. And the cynical part of me is like, run the other way. But
Yeah,
it's a terrible thing to say. But from an industry standpoint, it's tough. But I always say like, you have to be ready to like, the old story about guy blanking his name, but when he arrived from Spain to South America to burn the boats. They got off. They're like, got to burn the boats. We're not going
yeah,
back. Like, and we're all dying here, but we're gonna burn everything that gets us out of here. And it's kind of the attitude you have to have. It's like, well, I'm gonna do this, rain or shine, and no matter what happens. Because if you go in hoping to, dip your toe in and get lucky, it might work, but you got to be prepared for like the slog of it, and it can be a slog. It's a
yeah,
tough
yeah,
thing,
absolutely.
but it's worth it. Like you said earlier, like anything that's worth doing is difficult, and that applies to so many aspects of life. But those are the things that pay in dividends in the end. You know?
No question. It's uh, I saw just related to that. I'm seeing one repeated question, which is how do you stay motivated? Like for me, it's hard to get out of bed and do things. Um, that's a very like personal, like unique to each person kind of thing. Um, it a lot of it's a multi pronged answer. One, the easy answer is that like if you truly have something in your heart that you need to express artistically, um, it becomes like an obsessive thought that you can't not pursue it. You know, you can't not work hard at it.
Yeah,
So that's one thing. The other thing is like the taking care of yourself mentally and emotionally. Um,
and physically.
complete, completely outside of your own art. You know, like um, if you need therapy, get therapy. If you're feeling exhausted, find a way to like get more sleep and take care of yourself. Exercise is important. Eating the right foods is important. Everything you put into your body, you'll get out of it. And since your mind and your body are connected, it, it it will affect your mental state, and that's where your motivation and emotions come from as well. So it's just a matter of like taking good care of yourself. It's funny because the I remember hearing Jack Black talk about this, who is a person who has absolutely um, perfected that uh, having a comedy career and also having a music career kind of thing. Um, and he said, when oh fuck, I forgot what I was trying to say. What the hell was I just talking about, Jim?
Talking about like being able to do both things and finding the motivation to do. The initial concept was like, where do you find motivation? And you were talking about Jack Black and how he was been able to dovetail comedy and real music
Yeah, yeah. It had something to do with that. Oh, geez. It'll come back to me in a second. But the
Yeah,
gist is like you have to take care of yourself in all respects, um, because like you're not your body, but like you are connected into this vessel of your body, and if you don't
mhm,
take good care of it, you won't be able to use it to create anything.
yeah, agreed on that. The other thing too about motivation, I can speak to that because I always struggle with getting motivated to write. Like I can be highly motivated to work on a record, um, but when it comes to your own art, like which I think is where the question is coming from, it can be kind of paralyzing, and staying motivated to do can be hard. Do you remember?
I remembered what it
Okay.
was. Jack Black had a great quote about it where he was saying how the classic rock and roll trope is that you know you play these crazy rock shows and then you fucking blow 10 rails of coke and drink a bottle of Jack Daniels and destroy a hotel room and all that shit. um, and he's like, when in reality, if you actually want to rock, you need a lot of sleep, a lot of herbal tea. And that's totally true. Like
Absolutely.
when we were recording the Shadow Academy album, I blasted through like 10 boxes of organic meditations, chamomile lavender tea, or whatever the fuck it's called. Um, but that's the key.
Yeah.
Um,
And
taking good.
how boring are we on recording trips? Because we all are familiar with the idea that you need to take care of your body in order to do the work really well. You've got to stay healthy. You got to stay. So like, we were in Wales going to bed at 8:30. Just we got to rock tomorrow all day. Let's get some rest in, right?
Rush was a big influence on me in that respect because they were never, you know, hardcore drug users or anything like that. Um, and they would always talk about, like, from the moment we started this, we were like, we want this to be a long career. We want this to be like a big chunk of our lives. And they ended up having a 40 plus year career.
Right.
Um, all that drug partying rock and roll ethos bullshit is for bands that want to be around for 5 years,
Yeah.
and just like go crazy. But that's not, who gives
Yeah.
a shit about any of that? Like, you just go to a party if you want to party. Like, this is about something else
Yeah.
for us, at least. There's no right or wrong answer, but that's the right answer for us.
Yeah. When years back when I was kind of working closely with the Lincoln Park guys, they were the first ones to say like, if there's free time, yeah, we'll have some fun. But like when it's work mode, all of us like it's a business, and we treat ourselves well. We focus. Everyone has their lane. Everyone has their jobs. Like we want to be around forever, and that's the way we treat this. And I was like, even at a young age. I mean, we're all the same age, but I was like, man, that's pretty poignant advice for a bunch of 25-year-old dudes that are in the biggest band in the world that could be doing whatever they want. Like
Yeah.
they saw it too, which I thought was important, and they would have kind of lasted forever. Uh,
Yeah, it's like fireworks are cool, but like they're gone in a second, you know. So
yeah,
it's more about like a long candle flame.
yeah.
Um,
I didn't know that about Rush. I didn't know that they were like that kind of group.
well, Gene Simmons would always make fun of them because Rush opened for Kiss in the '70s, and he was like, you know how Gene Simmons talks. He's like,
Yeah, yeah,
I walk into the hotel room and they're fucking reading. Like, what are they reading? It's so funny.
yeah.
Um,
That's
but go,
awesome.
but go figure, because Kiss also had a 40 plus year career, and they
Yeah,
did all the shit. So
look at the Rolling Stones. I mean, they did all the shit. And
yeah,
I just saw them in October, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe they're mostly alive, except for Charlie Watts.
yeah, go figure.
Anyway,
That's the classic Dennis Leary line. Uh, when Keith Richards came out and said kids shouldn't do drugs, he was like, "Oh wow, Keith Richards, we can't do any drugs because you already did them all." We have to
Yeah,
wait till you die and smoke your ashes.
yeah.
Classic
That's amazing.
line.
That's really
Um, it is time for us to go. This has been totally delightful. Thank you so
yes.
much for
Yeah, thanks for showing up.
yeah, thanks for joining. I'm so glad you're all enjoying the album. I hope it means a lot to you now and in your lives going forward. Uh, and yeah, thanks. If you, a lot of people said they bought merch. If you did, thank you so much for that because that does help us out a lot in our lives. Um, and just to plug that one more time, it's store.shadowacademymusic.com.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and yeah,
Yeah, I
thanks.
think we'll probably over the months keep some new cool stuff coming up. Maybe some new posters. That's been something we've been talking about with the team. Is maybe some posters that reflect some of the other songs, things like that. So yeah, there's gonna be some ongoing cool stuff kind of going.
Thank
So
you. Yeah, yeah, uh, for sure. And you guys are the best. And
yeah, thank you.
your support is the reason we got to make this album and the reason we will probably make another one. So
Yep,
thank you.
we're gonna be getting on that here soon. So stand by.
All right.
But thank you
Later,
guys.
everyone. Mwah.
All right.